Developing a process flow is important once you have a setup, because if your process flow is well organized and you have a sequence of things which you do either after hours or before market open or during the opening hours, then that is going to help you in profiting from your own setup. So this kind of approach, which is like very process driven kind of an approach, is what I called as organized like crazy, or OLC as a short form. Because once you find a profitable trading idea, to exploit it or to milk it, you need to be organized. And the more you are organized and everything you thought through, then it becomes very easy to exploit that idea and make a lot of money. So for me personally, I have a very well thought out process flow. There are things which I do after hours, and the thing which I do after hours, the process which I run after hours, is really looking for earnings in the after hours, the stocks which are earnings. So those are the potential episodic pivot. So the work for episodic pivot is what I do after the market has closed. So that's the only thing, which is just a 15 minutes effort where I go through the stocks which had earnings and which had the market reacted positively to them. Similarly, in the morning before the market opens, I have only two or three processes which I run. The process which I run is situational awareness. So first thing in the morning, I develop a situational awareness about what is likely to happen in the market for next 2 to 3 days or few weeks or few months, and accordingly calibrate my trading. The second thing which I do is stocks announce earnings. After hours, they announce earnings before the market opens. So this essential process which I run is to find stocks which had earnings in the morning, and if they are reacted positively, and to research and study them to see if it is worth getting into these stocks. And if I find something, then I enter them on opening print. That means like I put in an order, market on open kind of an order, or OPG order, opening price guarantee order, which is what it is called in interactive broker. So that's the only process which I run before the market opens. Once the market opens, I'm essentially, if I had a earning CP kind of an idea, I would be in that trade in the first few minutes, because if you use the market on open order, it will get you into that. So that's my process. But if EP is not something where you're going to find a trade every day, so you're rarely going to find a trade in EP because of the nature of the setup itself. So on a regular basis, what I do, and I'll show you on Telechart, is that essentially what I'm doing is I'm running my setups about momentum burst. The first thing which I'm most interested in the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes of market open is to find a momentum burst trade. Because if I can get into a momentum burst trade in the first 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, then I don't have to do for rest of the day, because the trade you put in and it keeps on going up, and you just have to keep moving your stops, or sometimes take profit because it makes a very big move on the first day itself. So essentially, my process when the market open is to run these two scans. This is my momentum burst to the bullish side scan and momentum burst to the bearish side scan. This is the only scan which I am running continuously, and they run automatically. That means like I don't have to do anything. They're just like getting populated with new candidates. And till 10 o'clock in the morning, there is nothing else which I do but to look for a setup which is either a bullish or bearish setup. And if it is a bullish market, I'm just looking for bullish setup. I'm not even looking for bearish setup if it is a bullish market. Based on my situational awareness, if you are in a bullish market, you don't need to even look at the bearish side. Now, this process has been fine tuned. Everything is in place. All my scans are in place. In addition to this, I have a trade idea software which I use during the market opening hours, which gives me signals even faster than TC2000. So the combination of that process is what is designed to get me into a trade in the first 10 or 15 minutes, or at best in the first half an hour. And once 10 o'clock has happened is when I have another setup which I trade, which is the EP 9 million, which is like in stocks which are 9 million plus kind of a volume breakout. Then I look at them. So these are the three processes which I run, and that gets me into a trade. For rest of the day, I'm not really doing anything. For rest of the day, I'm just managing my position. In case I get stopped out or I take profit and close a position, because the trades which I take are 2 to 3 days kind of a trade, and I get stopped out, Then I look for another setup from the same scans which I am running, which is the bullish and combination bearish. For up to 3 o'clock, what I'm doing is essentially looking for a momentum burst kind of a setup. And that's a process which is well formed. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon is when I start looking for an anticipation setup. Anticipation is a setup where I'm looking for something which is likely to break out tomorrow, and then I find those setups. And the process for that is I run a scan. Again, the scan is set, everything is set. I just run an anticipation scan, which looks for a stock which has a low volatility. And that particular scan, once I look for that particular scan, I look for like the one which had like a very low volatility kind of a thing, and find a setup. If I find a setup in a market which is likely to break out next day, then I wait till around 358. Supposing, let's say, this is a setup which I think is likely to break out from this consolidation to the upside, and I want to enter, I'm going to wait till 358 and I enter those setups between 358 and 4 o'clock. That's the process which I run. Okay. That is the only process which I am running basically, where I am looking at like either a momentum burst or anticipation setup during the day. And once the market closes, again, I'm looking for an EP kind of a setup. And that's my process. Now, this is a process for finding ideas, but in terms of entering them on the brokerage also, I have completely like everything is well thought out. I know what size I'm going to do, where I'm going to put stop. This is all predetermined, and only those number of shares I buy. I do fixed size position sizing. So for a particular kind of capital, I'll be buying like say 3,000 shares or 5,000 shares, depending on the market conditions. My stops also are like predetermined. I'm not going to look for a stop of more than 2.5%. So I know what am I going to put a stop at. Now, this kind of a process orientation and microscopically thinking through all these process orientation, where should my screen be? Should it be on the left hand side or right hand side? Where should my mouse be? And should I use wireless mouse or wired mouse? And what is the advantage, disadvantage? All those process oriented questions I would like thought through. And I created my OLC, which is organized like crazy for my setups. Now, this OLC or organized like crazy is going to be different for different people. If your setup is different, you will need a different kind of an OLC. But once you start doing OLC, what will happen is that you're going to have less and less problems. A lot of time people say, oh, psychology is a problem. It's not psychology which is a problem. It is you're not organized. The more you organize, the more you think through, and the more you're process driven, less are the variability in your result. So if you want to make money, first find a setup. Once you find a setup, organize like crazy in process terms to profit from that setup. Everything which is required to trade that setup should be well organized in terms of software, in terms of scans, in terms of rules, in terms of how you're going to put an order, where you're going to put a stop, and how you're going to take profit. So all process, if you think through and if you execute a process, then profit is an outcome of following a good process.